There it goes.
Okay, so as Tara said, my name is Stacy Mayo-Martinez. My husband and I own Martinez Media and Marketing Group. We are now officially located just east of town at the corner of Green Valley Road and Highway 24 where the Darrah's is. We're in between the liquor store and the hair salon. So those are our neighbors. But we launched our business 4 years ago. One, I want to say I wish that this class would have existed when I was in school, but I don't know if I would have had the guts to ever think that I could own my own business. So I am the daughter of two entrepreneurs, as well as my husband's parents were both entrepreneurs. So I think we always had the idea that we'd love to work for ourselves, but it takes guts to go do it. And I also think you got to have the right experience to go out and be confident enough in what you're doing, because otherwise you have to learn a whole lot more. And so I'm going to just talk a little bit about, with launching your business, kind of things we've learned over time. So, like I said, I'm going to talk about who I am. I'm going to talk about what it means to be a sponge. And I think that's really important, whether you become an entrepreneur in the future or just in your career. The idea of passion versus business, what SNAP means, and making connections. So first, who I am. I describe myself as a CEO, a brand builder, and fun thing as a podcast producer. And I just have a couple of pictures that identify a little bit about me. The first is my grandpa. And he is one person. I have really amazing people in my family and in my life that have believed a lot in me. But he is somebody that I always could go to. And you need that person that's going to be honest with you, but also be a cheerleader. And that was my grandpa. This is our team here, minus one. One of our teammates was not able to come to our event, our retreat in person because actually minus two. One was on vacation and the other one had a 3-month-old at home, and so she didn't come. But that is our team there at MMMG. And when people ask me what I am most proud of in our business, it's our team and what we're able to accomplish. We have a unique structure, and it's a little bit of how we built our business. One, when we started, we knew we wanted to be a group. We knew it was not just the Martinez's, which is also just very hard for people to pluralize. And the last name was a Z, that ends in a Z. But it was not just my husband and I, it was more than us. Partially, I think that comes from our experience of knowing we're good at a lot of things, but we're not good at everything. In marketing and in communications, which is where my background is, I, for example, can do graphic design, but I am not a graphic designer. And so I knew from the beginning we needed to bring outside contractors. My husband, when we talk about how we split the business, I am the marketing part, he runs the media part. And so it is also not the easiest thing we've ever done to work with your spouse every day. We had been together for 8 years and married for 4 before we started our company. But we started it in August of 2020 and depended on each other now for everything in our life, including insurance, benefits, our income, and that's a big leap. So we also appreciate that we have outside folks and team members on our team, but I also have a network, and I'll get more into it, of really awesome people like Tara that also just get life as a business owner, because it's very complicated, messy, and you need somebody that you can either vent to or somebody to say, oh my God, I've never done this. How do you hire somebody with benefits? So, so that, like I said, is our team. What we do is we cover, we kind of have 4 main key areas in our company, and I'll talk a little bit about niching here in a minute, but it took us about 3 years to find these, 3 of our 4 years to find our core focus, because the hard thing was when we started the company, I remember people said, so what do you do? What are you going to specialize in? I was like, I don't know, because I can do it all. I have done it all through my background and through my experience, but we decided to focus first on, we call it strategic content maximization. I don't want somebody to hire us to do one video for their company, because it's very hard for the cost of us to do one video production for that to ever pay off. We want to help you figure out if we're going to do one video, How can we get multiple clips you can use in social media, you can use on your website? We're gonna interview people. How can we get comments that you can use again and again? So that's what we call strategic content maximization. It's the theory of record once and use often. Then we also, like I said, podcasts. So we do podcast production. Anybody can do a podcast. 50% of podcasts don't last past 1 year because anybody can do it, but it is a whole lot of work. And I think the last time I checked, it was between 86, depending on what all we're doing, 86 and 104 steps for us to produce a podcast from start to finish. And that is even a virtual podcast. So it is a lot of steps because you're not just producing it, you're also marketing it and getting the materials, getting the words right, doing all of that. So we do that for clients. Our one we've worked on the longest just went live with episode 120 this week, and that's been either in every other week or now we've moved to weekly. So they've been with us though since September of 2020. And then I myself used to have a podcast, and in the world of entrepreneurship, if you can't find a way to make money with it, you don't get to do it anymore when you're busy. But we're going to relaunch, and actually I'm building a community focused on empowering women entrepreneurs, because many times, not that the information will not be applicable to men, but I think many times we as women feel like we can't be vulnerable, that we have to show everybody that we know everything and we're 100% confident. And so we want to build a space that you can ask the questions that you don't know. And so I'm really excited about that. We're going to launch that in the new year. And then we also do event activation. I don't know if anybody here went to celebrate Ag Day before the football game, before OSU. Somebody just act like you heard of it. Even if you didn't, it'd make me really happy. But that was our team. We started that last year. So that's a good example of, we don't do event planning, we do event activation. So we're going to do your marketing ahead of time. We're going to get people there. We're going to make sure there's capture of video and photo there that we're promoting it afterwards, for example. So that's our event activation. And then we do photo and video production. So again, sometimes it can't always be us. We do a lot of international work. Or, for example, right now we're supporting the College of Ag with a lot of their social media. And so we couldn't be at National FFA Convention, but the Ag ambassadors were. We sent them with some training and some tools. They used their cell phone, but we gave them some mics, gave them some prompts, and then they sent us those clips back. We put them together and helped put that information out. So that's who we are as a company. This is a picture of my two interns and our latest hire, Kendall. So it's Grace, Kendall, and Brooke. And as Tara said, we do have internships. We have 2 interns right now, and we'll be hiring at least 1, if not 2, for next summer, because Grace is probably going to stay on with us since she's starting grad school. But that we are open to hiring. You don't have to have all the experience, but you do have to be willing to work hard and learn. We do work a lot in agriculture. Big part of that is that's my background. My degree is actually in ag communications and journalism. My husband's degree is in aviation management, so you can do anything. You don't have to, your degree is a starting point for you, but you just have to be willing to learn. And we don't work all in ag, but if you've never been on a farm and you want to work for us, don't worry, we'll make it happen. So next I want to talk about being a sponge. This is something, when I was graduating and looking at all the jobs, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I felt like it was really hard with a communications degree, kind of a communications marketing degree. It's like I could do anything. I could work for anybody in their communications. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had done some really great internships. I knew what I liked, but I had 2 opportunities at the end. I could go work for a small organization where I would be the communications and marketing person and not have anybody else around me that was in my discipline, or I could go work for a large marketing agency. And I decided to go for the agency route because I wanted to learn from other people. My first boss out of college was one of the best experiences I've ever had, and she told me, and everybody will always say stuff about your generation, right? It doesn't matter what generation it is, somebody's always going to say that about the upcoming generation. But her kids are about 10 years younger than me, so just perspective. So she was in her late 40s when I worked for her, and she said to me, your generation thinks that you're ready to be a CEO or a vice president as soon as you graduate, and I'm here to tell you you got a lot of shit to wait for. So pull your bootstraps up. And I was like, okay. And I really appreciated that advice. She was very empowering to me. She wasn't telling me that I didn't have experience that wasn't valued. She was just telling me I still have a lot to learn. So what's really cool is you have this safe space when you're in college to be vulnerable, to learn, to ask questions, to not know what you're going to graduate in. I changed my major 4 times. To just be in an environment where everybody else is kind of at the same phase. Then you're going to go out into the world, whether or not you're starting your own company or going to work for somebody else, and you're going to have a lot of people that think, one, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't have the experience, but you're also going to be able to hopefully find a few people in between that will help mentor you. It does not have to be a formal thing. You do not have to go and say to someone, will you be my mentor, like, you asked a homecoming or something. But I think find those people that you're like, they're cool. I like what they do. I like how they act in meetings. I like how they engage people. I like how they treat people. And find that person and ask them if they will go to lunch with you. I really went out of my way. Not only did I have Rhonda, who was my major, who was an amazing advisor, but I went out of my way to try and meet people that didn't do my job. I worked in public relations, and if you're familiar at all with a marketing agency, public relations are we try and get stuff for free that we don't want to spend the media money, and the media buyers are the ones that spend the money to go out and place an ad on YouTube, place an ad on ABC, wherever it is, online. We are not usually the ones that work together, but there's this woman named Patsy Camella who, super gruff, she smoked probably a pack of cigarettes a day. She drove, this was in 2007, drove a blue VW Bug that she lived in downtown Chicago and would leave her car open overnight so homeless people could sleep in it. Patsy was way more badass than I ever could be as a kid that grew up in Garden City and had never been to Chicago until I moved there. But Patsy just knew stuff, right? And after talking to Patsy for 10 minutes, I'm like, I can learn things from her. And I did. And some of it actually became part of my job, but I just learned that when Patsy would go into a room, people respected her. And it wasn't because she demanded respect, it's because she had earned it over time. She knew what she was talking about. She only talked when she had something to share that was going to actually help the conversation. And she just, people from media companies would send their new people to Patsy because she was the hard-ass sell that they wanted to train somebody on. And so I think it's just important to surround yourself. If you go work for a small organization, go look at other organizations and other professionals that you can learn from. So be a sponge and continue to be a sponge. I may be a CEO now, but there's still a lot of things I don't know. In today's society, we can learn. Sometimes, most of the time, we're on information overload, right? We can get podcasts. We can be on TikTok. We can be on, maybe learn things on Snapchat you never wanted to know. You can go and join community organizations. You can be in professional clubs. But just be aware, I think is the thing. And if I go back to the advice Rhonda gave me, pull your bootstraps up and learn. And I think the other thing is, I've never been one that's short on things to say or be afraid of talking. And so I used to always go into a meeting, and have anybody in here ever done a DISC assessment? So DISC is a work style assessment like Myers-Briggs or Strengths or something like that. And I'm a D. I'm very quick to make decisions. I'm decisive. I can brainstorm a whole plan in about maybe 20 seconds in my own head, but 20 minutes I can start for the problem, come up with an idea, what is our solutions, and do it. That's not how everybody thinks. So you not only, when you're in these discussions, when you're in these opportunities, have to think about how you learn and how you communicate, but how other people. And if you are the youngest person in the room and you have a whole lot to say, people will think that you are trying to prove that you know what you're talking about. So the opposite is, if you go in and you're in a meeting and you get invited into a discussion and you have nothing to say, that's a balance. You want to look like you belong there. Someone invited you into this discussion or into this meeting because they felt like you belonged there. So one, take notes. I don't care if you have no idea what anybody is talking about, write it down or be on your computer. And if you're on your computer, be attentive. I can tell you, I know when my team is working and multitasking and when they're actually listening in the meeting. And when they're not listening in the meeting, guess what? The next time when we have that meeting, they're the ones taking the notes because I need them to pay attention. But then what it is if you're in a meeting of something you have no idea, highlight stuff. What is this that they're talking about? And then go back and ask somebody. But the one piece of advice that kind of was a combo from all of my mentors at my first job was when you're in those discussions, the best time to talk, to speak up is when you think you have an idea that no one else is going to have. Let the people that are very senior, that very much need to hear themselves talk, let them say all the base ideas. So in my world, if we're coming up with a marketing plan, say we're going to do a product launch, we know there needs to be media bought, and we're going to be on TV, we're going to be online, we're probably going to do streaming ads. Okay, great, that's pretty obvious. We know that we're going to probably do some a news release and a media launch campaign, and we know we're going to need graphics and a handout to an explainer. So those are like no shit, right? Those are we know we have to do this. Don't bring up those ideas because somebody else already knows it. Be very introspective. Think about, prepare for the discussion. Think about the thing that nobody else in the room is going to bring up, and then bring that idea up. That's going to empower people to see that you're listening and that you're thinking. So that's my advice of just being a sponge, take it all in, and just never stop learning. When you stop learning, especially as an entrepreneur and business owner, that means your business is going to go flat. So you want to keep learning and you want to empower those around you to keep learning. So next is we talk about a passion versus a business. So I grew up on a farm, and farmers many times are entrepreneurs, and I have seen many farms fail. The farm failed. The farmer did not fail. But if you want to think about a person and a business that doesn't see a separation between who they are and who their business is and what they do, many times it's farmers. And I have seen people suffer. I have seen people take their own lives. I have seen people suffer with stress and anxiety because they didn't have water, therefore they couldn't have a successful farm anymore. The prices weren't right. Their landlord changed. All of these things that were out of their control, that therefore their business did not succeed, but that does not mean they themselves are a failure. So I do think it's important to separate yourself as one of the things that I would describe myself is as an entrepreneur. But that is not the only thing I am. And it is very easy as a small business owner to get sucked in. That's all you do. But I can tell you, Tara and I are in an organization that neither of us have time for, but part of it is so that we have an identity. Okay, a part of it is we have an identity outside of us as business owners. So just remember that. But the other thing is, and I felt like this happened a lot during COVID. I do crafting, I do some of these other things. This is actually pre-COVID, but I had this passion for creating things. All of a sudden I'm like, well, I could make money off of that. Not every passion has to become a business. And I say that because it's good for you to also have things that you care about. And sometimes when your passions become your businesses, they are no longer your passion and it no longer drives you. So it's just important to understand, so the three things I said, when you start a business with a passion for solving a need. So one, have a need you're solving. Could be that there's nothing in the market. It could be that you know that there's a niche for what you have as a service. It just whatever it is, make sure you're taking your business as to have a passion to solve a need. I can tell you if you're not passionate as a business owner, you also will not succeed. It takes way too much work. And then I think, like I said, business owners are more than their business. And last, a failed business does not mean the owner is a failure. And that's where it's nice to start small, know that you're going to be okay. And if someday my husband and I don't own MMMG anymore and we shut down our company, it's okay. We accomplished a lot while we were doing it. And we've had many conversations about that. So, and you can't really see this picture because I put a little bit of a gradient on it. And my face is actually behind the inn. But this was a really cool experience. I got to go to Madagascar. It was just like the movie. I'm just kidding. But I did watch the movie when I was on the plane to go. I joked that it was the company's biopic. But I was in Madagascar, and I actually got to talk to about 300 high school or college students in a university there in Tuliar in southern Madagascar about agriculture and about sorghum and about what we were doing for this project that we're working on. And I laughed because this woman here, she is our main contact there in country. She's one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and she's really great to work with, Mina. And if what you can't see in the photo is me taking a picture. So I am the speaker. She is introducing and talking about me, but I am still doing my job because this is what I care about, and I want to get a picture of her talking so that I have it later to share. So when you're passionate about your work, it's going to show through. Also, lesson learned, don't wear white pants when you're going to talk in a location that has red sand, dirt. Not a good combination. So now I mentioned SNAP. These are kind of just 4 ideas and tips for business ownership. So find your superpower. We all have it. For example, one of my contractors does our accounting and bookkeeping. Let me tell you, there's a reason I don't do that. I am not an accounting business. And I love people that do it for me, because that is not my superpower. She told me that she got jazzed about writing our employee handbook, and I said, I love that for you, because I do not want to do that. And so find the people that actually also, as you're building your team, accent your superpower. You don't need to all have the same superpowers, or no one's going to want to do the accounting. And with that, my superpower is connection. And the reason I have these pictures is, like I said, I've done some international work. I have, the top picture there was when we were in Ethiopia. I can tell you when I started this work, I never thought I'd get to go and travel the world, let alone get to meet some really amazing people in Africa and work on projects that are really making changes in lives. I myself, I'm not doing the work that's actually changing lives, but what I'm doing is making sure that work and that research that's happening is getting to the right people that need to know it. And so that was a fun, and that was our KSU. I'm a super awkward S, but I think that was like the 4th round of us doing it, and apparently I'm not stable in one foot. The person over to my left, to your right, is Angela. Angela was an intern of mine at a former job. And the reason I say about connecting is Angela texted me and said, what do you know about this company? I'm thinking about moving into marketing. She'd actually, her background was in finance and marketing, not normally 2 things that go together, but she'd gone into the banking route out of college. She wanted to move closer back to home, where her family was, and she had just recently got married, and she said, I want to find a way to make this work, and what do you know about this company? And my response back, this always happens to me when I go on vacation, so I just, when I need to hire people, apparently I go on vacation and things happen, but Angela texted me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to her in probably 6 months. And I said, 1, do you need insurance? Because I knew I couldn't hire her full time at the time. But I said, how many hours do you need? And let's talk. And about 3 weeks later, we hired her. And she's working, she's been with us now for 2 years. So you never know when those connections are going to come back. But also, I have hired people that own their own businesses to come work for me as a business owner too. So it's not always an employees, it could just be, it's a good example, we hire Tara's company all the time to work with us because I know she's dependable, I know they're gonna show up, and when we need something, I'm not gonna go question and hire somebody or find somebody else when we know. And so it's a community, same thing with our friend that does flowers. She's on my list, she's on my vendor list, because again, we help each other out because we're good business people. So this picture, it's kind of a fun story. For a while, Boot Hill Distillery out in Dodge City had a grant, and so they were able to afford to hire us. We went and did some work with them, but all of these people in this picture said, when I said, hey, I need you to come do a photo shoot with me and I'll pay you in drinks and food, they all showed up. And Becca's a friend of mine from college, so is Sheridan and her husband. These guys I actually met at a wedding, their wife, this is Sarah's husband and their friend, and so lean into what you do well. I'm going to roll through here. Niche, what is your niche? Find your niche and lean into it, but you don't have to know it right away. I mentioned earlier we've changed ours a lot. In the first 6 months of us working, I probably changed my elevator speech every time somebody asked me, tell me about your company. and that's okay. Who is your audience? Tara talked about this, I know, with funding. You guys have to know, one, who your audience is that you're building your business with, but if you're going to pitch venture capitalists or you're going to pitch an independent person to bid in your company, know what they care about and connect to that. Your audience is your number one priority in whatever you're doing. And then the P is be persistent and patient, but don't be afraid to pivot. It's okay. We used to do hybrid events when that was a big thing, but let me tell you, I realized my marriage might not make it through another live event that we are videotaping when anything was to go wrong. So we decided that wasn't necessary because we were on too much of a high stress level and it wasn't worth it. So we do it when we need to, but it's not something we promote. Lastly, I know Tara told you to put your phones away, but if you want to, this is, we'll take you to my LinkedIn. Connect with people on LinkedIn. You don't have to send any message, just connect with them. They're gonna see you're connected to K-State and they're gonna connect with you if they're a K-Stater. You are entering into a network, especially when you graduate, that is an automatic connection. We met people in Wyoming a couple of weeks ago that I had a K-State plate on, and I think I had a Chiefs sweatshirt on. The guy's like, oh, I went to K-State. He was a firefighter that was fighting the wildfires in Wyoming. You have a network, and use it on LinkedIn. Use your LinkedIn, and if you don't have one, get one now, because it will make a difference. Also, don't use your K-State email address, because someday you're going to forget that password, and you're going to need to update your LinkedIn, and you're not going to be able to recover it. So use your personal, not from personal experience, but I am from other people's. The other thing is we have our internship open for next summer. It is here in town. We have it listed as 30 to 40 hours. I can't guarantee travel, but last year one of our interns got to go to Cambodia, and the other one was supposed to get to go to Florida. The client ended up being sick last minute, but we do try and get you out and about if you can. You don't have to know all the things, but you have to be willing to learn. And it is a paid internship. Anybody that's not a paid internship, tell them that's volunteering. Yeah, what questions? Sorry, I didn't realize we were running long.
Yes, we have like 1 minute for questions. Anybody have any questions for Stacy?